What's going on, boys and squirrels? So today we're up north again. I kind of decided it's not 100% worth it for me to get this thing running, because I'm going to have to bleed the clutch, I'm going to have to bleed the brakes, I'm going to have to make sure there's no lines that are punctured. I just took 2 studs out of one side that I want to replace. The thing is completely full of rust. For now, I'm not too worried about it, but what I want to do right now is pull the transmission out. So what I decided to do today, because I got nothing else to do, we're going to go ahead and pull out this transmission and just have a look at it. Because there's a couple of things I noticed, which the cap behind here, the cover, is removed. And there's a lot of gunk in there where the shifter is. But it still seems to shift the way it's supposed to. It's a little bit rough. So I want to go inside here. I want to go inside and take a look at it. Because then I also noticed there's a couple of things. So something's missing over here. And what that is, it's a spring. And then there's a little bit of like kind of a weird piece. It's kind of like a cylinder with a cone attached to the end. So it's like a pointy cylinder. It goes in there and then a plug goes on top. And that's currently missing. This is some kind of makeshift gasket, which I'm just going to rip right off because I don't know what the point of that was. I don't know why they didn't just cut the gasket the proper shape. And yeah, back here everything seems okay. There is a bolt missing on the bell housing down there. But other than that, everything seems half decent. But I figure I'll pull this transmission out, clean it up. We'll look inside and see what's going on inside there. And we'll maybe change the fluids up. Put a new cap on there, put some new seals on it. We'll go from there basically. But I have a feeling there's some funky stuff going on with this transmission, which is probably the reason why this thing was parked. But I'll make a little how-to of how to pull this transmission. And the first part of the how-to, which is definitely an important one that you're not going to be able to film right now. Maybe I'll film with the other car. But you got to get to the transmission. So in order to do that, you're going to want to remove your carpets in the front. You want to remove your seats. My seats are kind of seized in place right now, so we're going to try to make this work without removing the seats, let you know how it goes. And there's a cover over here. Basically, you got to remove that cover, and there's a lot of other things too. There's a whole radio situation going over here. There's more of the dash that would have been here, but let's just pretend we cleared all that anyway, because that's just mainly just little screws, little bolts, you know, nothing too crazy to do. Again, you got these over here that remove the whole piece. I'm going to take those from mine because I don't know where mine went. But yeah, so let's go ahead and pull this out. So the first thing I like to do is get rid of this extra little panel here that would be here in case you wanted to put like an overdrive or something, you can access it just a little bit more. I think that's why it's there. I don't really know. But we'll go ahead and pull that off. It should be 3 screws, one up here and then one on each side. The ones on the side are gone. Good. Actually, there might be more. It depends on who worked on the car. But anyway, so we'll take that one screw off, and then there's going to be 4 bolts on where the yoke goes into the drive shaft, basically. But once I do that, I'll get back to you. Get rid of those screws. Now what I like to do when I take apart things like this, I like to have a piece of cardboard, and I'll poke holes in the cardboard and put each screw into it and basically do a circle around it and write where it goes. Anyway, now you got your full 4 bolts, and they are going to be 9/16. And so if you're like me and you only have pretty much one set of wrenches with you, like SAE and metric, 14 will work as a 9/16-ish, kind of. It'll be tight, but it'll work. And now you can go ahead and loosen up your bolts around here. And you're going to have to probably roll the car back and forth if you don't have it on a lift. For me, it's no big deal. Just, well, it wouldn't matter if it's in neutral because this is going to have to be connected to the diff, so it's going to have to roll regardless. So I'll get back to you when I got those all done. One thing I'm noticing on this right now is that there's a lot of oil on all of these bolts. So what I'm guessing is this transmission might have been leaking from this rear seal right back here. Yeah, you can see they're really oily, but makes it easier for us to remove it. The next thing we want to get rid of is these bolts down here. These are going to be a 1/2 inch for the transmission mounts. So the next thing we want to do is remove the Speedo cable right out of the side of the transmission. So it's going to be a 7/16 bolt right on the top of this that holds the fork that holds this on, and this should just slide right out after. So with that bolt removed, the fork comes out of place, and the Speedo cable slides right out. So you want to just put that aside, and you can go ahead and put the fork back in place, just so you don't lose it. And the next thing you want to remove is going to be, where is it? There it is, your slave. So there's going to be 2 bolts, one on the top, one on the bottom, out of there, and you can just pull this right back out of place. And then once we're done that, we can run to the other side and work on pulling the starter out. So for this slave, it's just going to be 2 1/2 inch bolts. Now you should be able to just pull this off. I'll take the washers off so we don't lose them. And this should just slide right out. Now if you notice, there's a little bit of rubber left behind there. And we'll just tuck the slave away. Try not to kink that line too much, or at all. Then what you can do is thread these back in so that you can clean those bolts up later, or get new ones if you want, but at least you know where they go. Slide the washers back up on the top, and that last bolt can go in, or last nut, sorry. Then you're going to have 2 wires coming out from your reverse switch, and I have absolutely no idea what's going on with this one. But anyway, the 2 wires come into here. You should be able to connect them with disconnects just like this. And it's a good idea to take a look at everything, make sure they're still in good shape. This one I have no idea what's happening with, so everything should be worthwhile to clean out. And look at that, I just popped this spring out. That was good. Okay, I'm going to hold on to that now because I wasn't supposed to do that. But anyway, we'll clean that all up after. So the next step with this is going to be removing the starter. So we'll go on to the inside. It's going to be awkward to see, but there is a bolt right over there for the starter, and there's a second one right on the top. So you want to remove those bolts and just kind of keep an eye on them for now and know which one goes, because these are going to be a little bit longer than any other studs that are on this transmission bell housing. So if you can kind of follow the extensions there to the back of where the starter bolt's on, I think all these bolts are going to be 9/16. So since it's only myself, I kind of have a wrench pinched up on the other side. You can kind of see it sticking out there. And eventually as I turn this, the wrench will get caught on something, hopefully nothing important, and it will allow me to actually twist the nut out. So let's go ahead and do that for both of these. I'll just crawl to this side and reach around a little bit. Try to catch that bolt so we don't lose her. Oh, we lost her. Then we'll go ahead and pull the nut out on the other side. Now once you've taken off those bolts, obviously the starter is going to fall right out. So we're just going to pull her out of the way as best as we can and try to make sure she doesn't get locked up on anything. You can leave it loose in there, it doesn't really matter. It's not going to go anywhere. The bell housing will just separate and pull right off out of the way. So we'll go ahead and do all the easy bolts. So we'll start from the top of the starter there, and we'll work our way around clockwise from the point of view of inside the cockpit, and we'll make our way all the way down to the bottom. So now we're actually at 1/2 inch for the rest of these bolts on the bell housing. It's just going to be the starter bolts for now that are going to be 9/16. So 1/2 inch for the rest of these. Now that all the top bolts are off, which is a little bit loose now, but what we're gonna have to do is get to the bottom ones. It sucks. So for this side, I switched things up. I basically reversed the position of the ratchet and the wrench, and I put the wrench on the inside and the ratchet on the outside, and I was able to fit it in there just to get that last one. Where is it? Right over there. Now, I believe the last one on this side is actually that cable, which is there to kind of hold everything in place in case of an accident. But let's go ahead and remove that. What the other side looks like, the cable just comes right through, and you just unbolt it from there and slide her out. Now you got that nut removed, and it'll slide right off. Basically what you want to do is just pull the cable from this side out, and you should be good. Go around, make sure every single thing is kind of freed up on this. Just wiggle things, see if anything's still tight. Like this is still pretty tight, so just break them free like that. Yeah, now it wants to move a little bit. It's a little bit tight up on this drive shaft, but we'll be able to get that loosened up. Once you've got these to clear each other, you're going to be able to try and pry the transmission up a bit and just try to get it completely over this. It's going to suck, but okay, so you should be able to kind of wiggle it free. Just like that, and then it's not like heavy, it's just awkward. Now I guess that's proof that you can take this out without taking the seats out. I mean, it's nice to sit on something, but also you can ruin your seats pretty easily. Okie dokie. And that's how you pull a tranny. So it's important to notice that basically your transmission mounts are also holding the engine in place. So when you pull the transmission out, the engine will shift backwards. So it's nice to jack that up maybe from the middle Or even if you had an engine hoist, you can lift it up a little bit just to hold it in place. So when you go ahead and put the new one back in, or if you put the old one back in after it's been serviced, you can get it to slide in perfectly without any issues. But that's that. Now when you're here, you might as well replace the clutch if you feel like it, if you want something nice and new. Other than that, there's not much else to do under here. So I'm going to head home and we'll take a look at the transmission inside and we'll go over the transmission and see what needs to be fixed and whatnot. So I let the transmission sit here overnight. I got lazy after pulling it yesterday. I was a little bit tired and I decided whatever, I'd work on it today. And I think it's a little bit obvious that it was leaking out of the main seal just a tiny bit, which is actually why all those bolts and whatnot were all soaked. But I do have a new seal coming for that, and it maybe explains why the cover on the back there was removed, because maybe they were looking into where that leak is coming from. Maybe they thought it was that cover. But either way, we can tell this transmission has been pulled before by the fact that there's a bolt missing right there, and of course that. But yeah, little telltale signs that someone just tinkered with this, and the gasket being kind of coming off the side. But yeah, so let's go ahead and do the first thing you want to do to see if the transmission is actually functioning properly. Is we're gonna go spin this boy right here, and we'll see if anything happens if we get any rotation out the other side. So let's move this transmission to a spot where we can better access it. So we've got the transmission in first gear right now, and I'll go ahead and spin the input shaft, and we've got some turnage, which is good, but we also have a noise coming from the transmission. Which is odd, so we're gonna have to open that up and see what's going on there. But let's try running through all the gears. So we'll spin second gear, and we don't have too much noise. Put it back in first, and now we have the noise again. Let's try third. No noise. Fourth, no noise. So first gear's got something going on with it. Let's try reverse. So we're just gonna lift her up. There's a little noise in reverse as well. Back down to first. Okay, so let's go ahead and take the top cover off here, and let's inspect what's going on with the gears, see if we can figure out why it's making all this noise. So we'll leave her in first gear. This way we can rotate her back and forth with not too much going on up on the top. Now we can lift up the top cover. We can look inside here and see what's going on in the transmission. We want to take a look at the synchros, the gear itself. Now I see some chipping on the gears, so if you look into right there, that the gear is chipped right there. So that could be an indicator as to why there's a noise. Now I discovered something. Why don't you take a look at that gear right there. Tell me if it looks a little bit different from the other gears. That thing is destroyed. Man. So we're gonna have to take this apart. That gear is totally destroyed, and Now we know what to do. We gotta change our gears. While we're in there, we might as well do all of our synchros. I guess what we can do as well is we're gonna have to do that back seal, and well, we'll just redo all the seals on this thing, gaskets and whatnot. But now we know there was an issue there. But we'll go through everything. We'll see what needs to be touched up, and that'll be another video. But that's basically how you can inspect for little issues and stuff with the transmission as you're working on it. But yeah. Alrighty, so take care, comb your hair. Oh, and don't forget, please like and subscribe. Comment if you want. Thank you.